The reason why most men fail to turn around their marriage is because they don't know about marriage cancer. So they end up focusing on the superficial issues and problems in their relationship instead of focusing on the deep-rooted challenges that have been hurting them. Unfortunately, marriage counselors and therapists have no clue how to identify or reverse marriage cancer. So it's up to you, the husband, to study this, and we're going to show you in this video 7 ways how you can spot marriage cancer right now. In order to really get clarity on what's going on in your marriage, you have to have a clear picture of the fundamental challenges in your marriage. In order to do that, you have to understand marriage cancer. And by the time we're done with this video, you're going to have 7 different ways of spotting where marriage cancer might be showing up in your relationship right now. So basics. Marriage cancer on the most simplest level is when you're stuck. When your marriage is stuck, when your wife is stuck, whatever you are doing to improve the relationship, to improve the connection, to improve conversation and communication, to help your intimacy, is not helping. Over time, when marriage cancer is ignored, not only what you're doing doesn't help, you will see that what you're doing is actually backfiring and creating more friction, more tension, and more opportunities for your wife to shut down. Now, on a deeper level, what marriage cancer is that there is a deep-rooted issue which is creating other problems. And like I said, I'm going to share with you a bunch of them towards the end of this video. But let's go into some basic understanding and categories that may exist in marriage cancer. So there are 4 types of marriage cancer. There is stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this video is not going to be a deep breakdown of all of those stages, but just to have a general awareness to understand where you are. Stage 1 is before there's any conversation of separation or divorce. It's just tense, it could be cold, it could be a lot of hot arguments, it could be a lot of ice tension. There's usually a lack of intimacy or frustrating intimacy, or intimacy is a chore, but there is no conversation about separation or divorce, there is no affairs, there's no addictions. Stage 1 of marriage cancer. Stage 2 is when there's some serious conversation about separation or divorce, regardless of whatever form of separation you want to call it, in-house, out-of-house, space, trial separation. They're all the same essentially when it comes to determining marriage cancer. Stage 3 is when there's an actual separation. The couple are actually living in 2 different places or 2 different bedrooms, but they are officially working on the relationship. And stage 4 is when the wife is not even trying, she's not even making believe that she's working on the relationship. She's really checked out. Now that's a simple breakdown. In some cases, if there is an affair going on, the wife is involved in an emotional or physical affair, that automatically is a stage 3. If there's an addiction, alcohol, drugs, gambling, pornography, food addiction, or a sex or love addiction, so that usually puts it into stage 4. There are exceptions. Like I said, this video is not going to be a deep breakdown of that. In this video, we're going to focus on what marriage cancer is to all situations. In other words, if you have marriage cancer, you'll be able to look into your life, analyze the relationship with your wife, look at your marriage, and say, okay, yeah, I see what's going on. Because each stage of marriage cancer really does have its own unique challenges and problems and solutions. Right now, I want to focus on the area that applies to all situations. So what is going on behind the scenes when you have marriage cancer? Why is it that your effort doesn't help, or in some cases, it's backfiring? To start with this, not every problem is equal. There can be potentially disrespect, fighting, stonewalling, lack of intimacy, frustrating intimacy, intimacy that the woman is doing as a chore to the husband not even initiating because he's been rejected, or she constantly keeps on rejecting, disrespect in front of the kids, arguing over the kids, financial disagreements, in-laws, job pressures. At advanced stages, there can be complications with affairs, divorce, asset division, lawyers, and whatnot. My point is, these are all different types of problems. Not every problem is equal. That's the first principle you have to understand when it comes to marriage cancer. There are fundamental problems, and those fundamental problems will create other problems, and they will continue to create other problems. It's like a whack-a-mole. You'll keep trying to fix them, and they won't go away. Or they'll go away, but other problems will show up. Many problems originate from deeper rooted problems. We'll call them sometimes the tree and the fruit, or the fundamentals and symptoms. They're the same thing. A lot of guys And marriage counselors and therapists focus on the fruit, which is why they keep getting stuck. Because even if you pick off some fruit, if the tree itself is rotten or poisonous or has a specific deep problem, it's going to keep on generating other problems. And that not only wastes your time and energy, it actually, over time, like I said earlier, starts backfiring. Another way of putting it is if you have a tumor, God forbid, if someone has a cancerous tumor, they'll have other problems. Pain, headaches, vomiting, inability to sleep, lack of energy, inability to function. It would be the biggest mistake, and everybody understands this, you don't have to be a doctor to understand this, to focus on the headache and treat the pain. Although you do need to focus on that, but that's not the main focus. The focus is on reversing the tumor and the effects on the body. So similarly, when it comes to healing marriage cancer, we have to focus on, okay, what is generating the tumor? Where's it coming from? So understanding the difference between fundamentals and symptoms starts with this. Some symptoms are easy to spot. For example, if I said it to you, when you're watching the video, pause it for a moment and ask yourself this question. If somebody is being served divorce papers, it doesn't have to be you. I'm saying it for the purpose of teaching this concept. Hopefully it's not you. If you're served divorce papers, it's a problem. It's a big problem. But it's a symptom. Ask yourself, is it a symptom or fundamental? I kind of cheated. I told you it's a symptom because it's so simple and easy to notice it. I'll give you some more difficult questions in a minute. It's obvious to anybody that a man who was served divorce papers, it's not his main problem. His main problem is what has been going on in the relationship or what has not been going on in the relationship over a long period of time, usually years. There's obviously a deeper issue. Another situation, and I'll ask you, if you're working hard to please your wife but she doesn't seem to be happy, is that a fundamental issue or a symptom? I'm not going to answer right now, but ask yourself that question. The point over here is for you to start getting to the truth of what challenge you're facing, because otherwise you'll deal with and you'll end up arguing with your wife over silly stuff that won't go away. Affairs. If someone's wife is having an affair, is that a symptom or fundamental? Now, a lot of guys would say that's a fundamental area. For the purposes of marriage cancer, what I have found is in 93 to 95% of situations where a woman was involved in an affair, there were fundamental problems that were not being addressed in the marriage for a long period of time. I'm not blaming the husband. I am saying that has been the reality, that there were things he didn't notice or neglected or deliberately ignored for a long period of time before she felt the need to reach out to another man. Now, am I condoning her actions? No. But if you want to understand what marriage cancer is, until you address those underlying issues of what compelled her to take that drastic step, you will not heal your marriage. Even if you negotiate an agreement and you go to counseling, you have a lot of situations where a woman could be actively involved in counseling and still engaged in her affair or pursuing another affair. It happens all the time. Does it happen in every situation? No, but it happens very, very often. And when I say very often, I mean in over 75% of the situations. My point is that in virtually all cases, there were fundamental problems going on in the relationship. My point is an affair is a symptom. It's a painful symptom. It's a frustrating symptom. It's a symptom that has to be addressed, but it's the equivalent of a cancer patient vomiting. It's not the actual cancer. It's not the tumor. It's the result of the tumor. And it does have to be addressed. But the problem is a lot of guys plunge into trying to address it with their wives without really getting to the root of what caused it. And like I said in the earlier video that I made a couple of days ago, a woman will not open up to you. She will not share the truth with you. If you haven't seen that video yet, watch it. The video about marriage counseling. All right, I'm not going to repeat it all here. You can just click the link and check that out. Now, there are some symptoms that get even harder to see. For example, a frustrating intimacy, lack of it. A lot of guys will say, hey, the main problem is, I've heard this all the time, David, our main problem is lack of intimacy. Unfortunately, that's not true, because the research has shown over and over again that couples that are very, very happy give intimacy about 15, maybe 20% of the credit, not more. Because couples that are very, very happy understand that an active, intimate life between husband and wife is only one part of the connection. There are many other parts of the connection that they enjoy. Spending time together, watching movies, raising kids, shopping, talking, just going for a drive together. There are so many other parts that bring them joy and connection, emotional connection, that they look at the intimacy like, yeah, it's great, but that's not the reason why we're happy. The reason why it's great is because we're happy. Whereas couples that are not happy have consistently shown, especially men, in research, have shown that they give like 80 to 85% of the reason why they're not happy and why their marriage is not working out or has not worked out. They say it's about 80 to 85% because of the intimacy, lack of it, or it was frustrating, or the woman just did it as a chore, or it was just a physical act, or no, there was no emotional connection. Because couples that are not happy tend to focus on the symptom, and the symptom is a painful one, and it legitimately is painful. I'm not invalidating it, but it's just not the solution. Now, I told you before, I'm going to share the fundamental areas that feed marriage cancer, but I first got to go through a bunch of symptoms so you understand what it is not, because otherwise you'll get trapped in it. This is what happens with counseling all the time. It happens with counseling, happens in therapy, and it happens even in situations where men are trying to turn around their relationship on their own without involving a counselor. They will still fall into this trap of naturally gravitating to symptoms. I did. It's kind of our default setting because that's what's in front of us. What's in front of us is the pain that we're experiencing. It's hard to peel back layers and go to, okay, what's causing the pain? What's causing the pain? What's the root of it? That's the purpose of this video. Other areas of symptoms. Disrespect. Disrespect is not a fundamental area. I've heard this being said or complaints being made about it. It is not true. Disrespect is not the fundamental. It's a necessary need for the relationship, but it's not the fundamental problem that is tearing apart a couple from each other. It's simply not. Disrespect is the natural result of a deeper lack of connection. And respect, conversely, is the natural result of a good, deep connection. You don't have to work on respect. It does need to be there, but it's not something that has to work. If you have to work on respect, you already have a problem. If it feels like it's an uphill battle, that's an indication there's a deeper emotional disconnect. And I promise you, I'm going to share them with you in just a few minutes. Lack of appreciation, communication being difficult, your wife looking for things to fight about, or she stonewalls, she's cold. Disagreements over finances. I mentioned a couple of these things earlier in the video. In-laws getting involved, parents, work pressures, finances. This is a big one. I've heard this is one of the biggest lies out there where guys say finances is the biggest reason why couples separate. And the research, if you go look online, see research shows financial reasons or disagreements or poverty is the biggest reason why couples separate. It's simple. It's really, really not true. Now, to them, it seems like it's true, but in every single situation where you have financial pressures and disagreements and fights as a result of your financial situation, there are always deeper issues, the ones that I'm going to say in a few minutes. There are always just fundamentals. Marriage cancer is active and present. And the proof is, you want to hear proof? I've seen this again and again. A guy reaches out to me, we have a chat. What's the problem? Well, we went through difficulties a couple of years ago. We had some real financial pressures and problems and caused us a lot of friction. What's going on right now? We're doing well financially. If the problem was finances and you're doing well financially, why is it that you still have a problem with your marriage? Think about it. It's simple science. If the problem was finances and now you have money, you're doing well, and your career is fine, your business is fine, why do you still have problems? The answer is because the finances was not the main issue. The finances just uncovered that there were deeper emotional disconnects between the two, which created over time more frustration, more disrespect. The wrong opinion of each other started being fed in the mind of the husband and the mind of the wife, which over time created some real marriage cancer. And let's go the opposite way. You have couples who struggle financially, but who are very, very close, intimately, emotionally. They're aligned on a religious level. They're aligned in the way they raise their kids. So the finances is, again, a superficial reason. And the reason why the research shows that is because the marriage counseling, call it industry or therapy, they focus on symptoms. So if they do research and they ask 10 million couples or 5 million couples who are divorced, what was the main problem? They'll say, oh, it was money. So the research comes and says, hey, it was money. Because they're asking them the superficial question. It's like asking a cancer patient who has no idea that they have cancer. Well, what's problem bothering you? Oh, I have a headache. God forbid. So they say, oh, the biggest problem people are dying from are headaches. No, it's not headaches. People are not dying from headaches. They're dying from cancer. But if you don't know it's cancer, it looks like a headache. The same thing over here. If you don't understand the deeper underlying issues, it looks like finances. So the question is, okay, what are these 7 main areas feeding marriage cancer? Now you have, in every situation where you're stuck, you can have at least one or more. Usually it's 3 or 4. 3, 4 or more. Number 1, you have unconditional love for your wife, but she doesn't feel entrusted. Over time, things develop that have created that. That is a fundamental problem. If you don't fix that problem, if you still have 100% unconditional love for her, and she doesn't feel and trust 100% of it, you're going to have ongoing problems. And no matter how much you work on them, more problems will be created. Number 2, you don't have the ability to see problems in the relationship while they're small and easy to fix. This is a skill. It's an analytical skill. It's also an emotional intelligence skill. The ability to intuitively pick up and see, I see a problem developing in our relationship. And it's right now, it's small, it's easy to fix it, let me go after it. Most guys don't have this. Or I should say, in situations where you have marriage cancer, this is usually a big area where the guy doesn't realize a problem until he gets blindsided, until it explodes in his face, and it's a massive problem. This feeds marriage cancer. Why? Because when she's frustrated over a long period of time, and you don't realize how frustrated she is until it explodes on you, that creates in her mind the third part of marriage cancer. And that is, she has the wrong image and opinion of her husband. She has a wrong opinion of you, the husband. She's stuck with something from the past, or it could be something you're doing now which is feeding that picture, but she has an opinion of you which says you are not trustworthy, you are manipulative, you're selfish, you're angry, fill in the blank. She's stuck with the wrong opinion of her husband. And by the way, I'll give you something deeper, which is why if you don't fix it, even if you work on other areas, you actually look like you're being manipulative even when you're not. You may even look like you're being controlling even when you're not, based on things she's seen in the past. Number 4, you don't know how to keep her happy, which is an answer to the question I asked you a couple of minutes ago. If she tells you 10 things and you can't figure out which one of those 10 things are the most important, or sometimes it's neither, sometimes it's none of them, it's things which she's not saying. Like the ability to intuitively know how to keep her happy is an area that if you don't dial this in, you're going to have marriage cancer, because women will give you lists, especially in the early stages of marriage cancer. They'll give you lists. Hey, do all this stuff, and we'll be fine. And you do it, and you're not fine. She blames you for doing it the wrong way, or she just changes her list. Because, like I said in the earlier video, they will not give you the deeper issues. Either they will not or they cannot. Again, check out that video. The other area of marriage cancer is you have to regularly give up your opinion, your wants, needs, and desires to please her. The only way to pacify her, to shut her up, is to give in and to give up on yourself. When you do that over a long period of time, it actually creates resentment and frustration. Another area is she believes she already tried. We discussed this in an earlier video, that the woman believes in her mind, I already tried. I did my best for my marriage. I gave it 5-10 years, and I'm done. The 7th area is that you find yourself losing emotional control, even though you're really trying not to. That is an area that indicates both the stress you're experiencing from the marriage, but it's also a contributing stress to the marriage. Because if you don't have emotional control, especially when you're trying to, you're aware of it, that creates ongoing problems that even when you fix them, it's very easy for them to get opened up again. So those are the 7 areas. This is essentially marriage cancer at its core. And if you have not seen the video about marriage counseling, I highly encourage you to check it out, because this video actually won't make a lot of sense until you've seen that first. Because one of the biggest mistakes guys make is they involve their wives in the process of trying to figure out how to heal the marriage, which just keeps them stuck in the same loop. If you have seen that, I'd encourage you to watch the video I'm going to put under this link, which is going to show you the deepest root, which one of all these things of marriage cancer actually is the deepest part, and from there is the area you have to start to heal. I'll see you in the next video.